Welcome back to another edition of Stuff You Don't Usually See. Returning guest, Police Chief Billy Couch. Chief, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate you.
You betcha. Before we get started on the radio version of all this kind of stuff, how's stuff affecting your department in terms of fuel prices? Because I guess we can talk about this during the radio stuff too. But man, that's got to be affecting your entire department.
Yeah, fuel prices is something that we've now started monitoring that we weren't monitoring as close before. And I would say that kind of followed right in behind some supply chain issues with equipment and things that we regularly would order and receive. We're waiting months, if not years, to receive. Vehicles have been on order for a long time. We've got 22 cars through two different years that are now at our upfitter getting ready to be delivered. So we're happy about that, but it's been a really long time.
Goodness. All right. Well, I may ask you about that during the radio too, but I didn't even think about the number of vehicles that you're talking about. Okay, so here we go for the radio. Well, thank you and good morning. My guest this morning is College Station Police Chief Billy Couch. Chief, how you doing?
Doing well, thanks.
Excellent. Well, listen, thanks for joining me again on this. I wanted to talk about your department's work at Northgate. I know I have heard you describe Northgate as probably the location in College Station that where you devote the most resources at one time. What does it look like for you guys to have to work the Northgate area on certain nights and weekends?
Yeah, Northgate has always been a unique challenge for us from a staffing perspective. Is Northgate's completely different during the day than it is at night. Yeah. There are a lot more residential housing up there now, a lot more beds, a lot more students in that environment on a full-time basis. So you can expect then at night to have more people in the environment, and it is that way. We've seen Northgate grow and grow by the number of bars, licensed establishments up in Northgate over the past 15, 20 years. It's gone from just a handful to up over 30 now. So with that comes a whole lot of people into the environment, and that mixed with alcohol consumption can create some pretty significant problems for us. Now we police it well. We have a full-time unit that works the Northgate district at night. And they do a real good job of doing, policing it in a way to make it a safe place for people to enjoy their time up there. But those challenges continually get more complex and more difficult for us. And oftentimes it's based on, the type of people that are coming to the environment, whether they're coming there to have a good time or to look for opportunities to commit crime. So it's definitely got its challenges.
Yeah. From a safety standpoint in terms of where pedestrians and vehicles might be in conflict, are you seeing any kind of changes, or are things becoming a little bit more hazardous in some places, or have you and some other departments been able to mitigate some of that? What does that look like?
Yeah, we have done some things to mitigate some of the areas that we were most worried about. Along Boyette Street at night, we've established a barricade system because it gets so heavily populated with foot traffic crossing that intersection. But there are certainly a lot of risk up in that area when you have that many people moving around on foot, because most of the roadways are still open for vehicle traffic. So yeah, we do run the risk of that. And then you have, of course, University Drive, which is a more densely populated roadway with a lot of vehicle traffic on it, right adjacent to the entrances to a number of those bars. Can certainly cause some issues, and we've had crashes, accidents occur throughout that area. But yeah, that is a real concern.
What kind of conversations have you been aware of in terms of ideas being tossed out there about maybe an extension of the wall or more bollards, or I'm sure there are lots of discussions about lots of options. What are some of the things you've heard that actually might have potential?
Yeah, there's been some studies done on, maybe changing the flow of traffic, maybe create some one-way directional streets that take traffic away from the actual Northgate Center. There's also been some discussion about extending the pedestrian safety wall there along University Drive. It does have some complexities to that because the width of the sidewalk narrows at the end of the wall, so it's going to create some unique design challenges there. But yeah, all those things are discussed and being considered to help make that environment safer for pedestrians and vehicles to interact. Yeah.
Now, am I correct in that you guys have actually had some collaboration there with the College Station Fire Department, that they've had some kind of a presence there? Is that right?
We do, because it's got so many people in it. Oftentimes, the fire department is having to respond up with medics multiple times a night. So what we've done to try and alleviate the reason for having the ambulance come in is to put medics on bicycles, and then they'll ride tandem with our officers in our C-step unit. That way they're on scene, they're already present. We don't have to call in an ambulance or ambulance and a fire truck. In order to provide that service, we have the medics in the environment during those peak hours, and that's been really helpful.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay, so switching away from Northgate a little bit, and you and I were talking about this a little bit before we went on the air here, but your department, like so many other city departments, has been affected by an increase in fuel prices. Can you talk a little bit about what you're dealing with in that regard?
Yeah, I think the fuel prices really got everyone's attention because it was almost immediate that we started seeing those challenges. We haven't always had to monitor the fuel consumption. We've come under budget usually, but this year's different. We're having to watch that line a lot closer because we do understand that those numbers have gone up and they've stayed up. But in addition to that, I think the supply chain has been something that we've already been wrestling with, is trying to get supplies in as needed. Used to, we could order and pretty much receive pretty immediate the critical things that we needed, like vehicles. We've had vehicles on order for close to a year. It's now spans 2 consecutive years that we've ordered and waiting for cars to come in. They finally made it to our upfitter to get the equipment added on. So it won't be very long now that we're going to receive on cars, but we're now driving cars a year to a year and a half older than what we typically would have, where they have already been traded off for the newer cars. So it's created some really unique challenges with supply chains as well.
Now, to the layperson, it doesn't sound like another year and a half, whatever, on a vehicle. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but I guess in your world, it probably is.
It is. I mean, there's a lot to the vehicle, and number one, the officers are supported by the vehicle. So if the vehicles go down or they're mechanically not sound, the officers can't use those vehicles for patrol. Well, I don't have a buffer to handle a loss of that many cars at one time. So yeah, the older cars in the fleet being ran as long and hard as we use them can create some problems just to be able to have enough cars for my staff to go out and do their job. Yeah. So we do have a couple of dozen cars that have now arrived at the upfitter, so it's going to be getting better really soon, but it's been a long year as we've waited for these cars to get here.
Sure. Tell me about staffing. How are you doing in terms of recruiting and having enough officers in the pipeline?
Yeah, our industry has changed some, and it's gotten more difficult, more complicated, and as a result, I think we're seeing fewer applicants come through the door. Right now, we're down 6 total on paper. We have 6 vacancies, so we are hiring for this. Just speaking of police officer positions, and then we have recently hired 3 certified officers that came to us, so we're excited about that. They'll start field training on Monday. And then we have some other officers in field training from our last police academy. So yeah, we're doing everything we can to get them in the door and get them trained up. And but yeah, it is a challenge. We hosted an exam, a entrance exam this week, and we had 86 confirm that they would attend, and 40 showed up. From the 40, only 30 passed. So we're looking at a batch of 30, when in the past we probably would have been looking at a batch of about 60 on an entrance exam.
So what does that tell you? What's the reason for fewer people actually showing up?
It's hard to say. I think it has a lot of similarities with the rest of employment. People are all over looking for employees, and they're struggling to get people in the door to work at any business in any industry. And I don't think we're an exception to that. I think we're seeing a hit just like everyone else. But at the same time, our industry has taken a hit over the last few years to where some people may think that it's just not for them. But whatever it is, we're going to continue to recruit and continue to work hard to show people that it is a good profession, it is a good career, and College Station is a fantastic place to be a police officer.
Right. So switching over to another topic, I know that College Station is always going to be a city where property crime is a problem because we have so many students who are coming and going, and we're right off the highway, easy access into and out of it, and so forth. But it seems like that I saw maybe a news story or two recently about the number of guns that are being taken out of vehicles and so forth. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like?
That is a real concern for us. We have burglary motor vehicle isn't new to us. We have, I guess that's probably been our leading crime as long as I've been here. We are a target-rich environment with the students, and they have nice things, and they often won't lock them up. So that's always been an issue for us. But the increase over the last 3 years in guns being stolen out of these burglaries is a real concern. Calendar year last year, we had 178 guns stolen out of burglary motor vehicle incidents. So, and that's about a 40% increase over the year before. So we're seeing a whole lot of burglary motor vehicles leading to gun thefts. And we do a lot to try and educate the public about the importance of locking your doors, because oftentimes it's just unlocked doors. They just go door to door and find the doors that are unlocked, and then go through the car and see what they can find. Oftentimes specifically looking for guns. So yeah, it is important that our community recognize the need to be responsible with that firearm, and that means taking it out when you're not in the vehicle. Take it out, take it in the house, and not leave it in the car.
How often are these guns actually recovered and returned to the owners?
Frequently, we are seeing the guns being recovered. Not to the level that we'd like, but yeah, because oftentimes a gun serial number can be located through the sequence of how the gun was purchased. It's different than a TV or something where you would probably have to physically take the time to write that down. The guns we can get back and get to a serial number, so they're being entered. Therefore, when they are located and another law enforcement agency runs it, it does populate in our system, and we can recover them that way. So we are seeing a lot of recoveries. We've also seen recoveries at crime scenes as well. So yeah, that is something that we know these guns are falling into the wrong hands. Therefore, it's important for our citizens to be responsible with the guns that they own.
Well, before we wrap up, is there anything in terms of a crime trend or just some piece of advice that you might be able to offer to our citizens?
Really just that is right now we've seen a lot of benefit from surveillance cameras and systems like that. The price of surveillance systems have come down. They're affordable. Installation costs, they're not that bad. If people can continue to add in surveillance systems into their homes, directional to driveways, vehicles, things like that, it's really helping us to identify evidence on these crimes when it's occurring, whereas before we may not have that. So those things are really helping. And then just be the eyes and ears of your neighborhood. When you see something, you call it in, say something, especially if you have something suspicious late at night when you would think someone shouldn't be around another person's vehicles or something. Call that in. Give us a chance to get out there and take a look at it, because it's a pretty big problem for us.
Yeah. Good advice. Chief Couch, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys.
You bet. And thank you guys for letting us come on and talk about the city of College Station. And that is stuff you don't usually see. Can we do it?